Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday, the Change Leadership episode this week with Viktor Didenchuk. Hey, Viktor, welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Glad to see you again.
So, Viktor, Wednesday is, of course, Change Leadership Day. We like to talk about change leadership instead of change management because there's a lot of leadership we need to provide and display for the team in those moments. And also because we work with change all the time. Change is a big part of the work that we do. So let's explore one of those stories from your career, Viktor, a story of a change process that you were involved with, and walk us through the process, from beginning to end. What were the steps that you went through, what you learned during each of those steps, and then as you go through those steps, highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, and the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Yeah, so I think that the greatest example I've seen is in one of my companies. So it's a company that basically develops a software as a service product. And when I joined, it was on the MVP stage of the new product, but it was kind of a successful startup of their old product. And the biggest challenge was that the old product, it was a highly enterprise-oriented product that had a personal manager for each big customer. It had a big sales team, and basically engineers were not really involved into any communication with the customers, into any handling of problems. And also the solution was self-hosted. So it was kind of a low risk from certain extent. But the new product, it was a software as a service product. It was highly scalable. Users were able to sign up themselves. Actually, big users were able to sign up themselves. Big organization, enterprises, whatever. And so the challenge was, from the organization perspective, is to build the process of incident management. So for the old product, it was just a personal manager who had a personal relationship. And, it's always easier when you have personal relationship with your customers. So you have 10 customers with each, their account manager. You're able to talk to them. You're able to kind of encourage them that we will fix it soon. No matter, no worries. We'll handle it. Maybe there is some discount or whatever. But when you start to scale and when you end up with hundreds of customers, it is not possible to have a personal connection with everyone. So we had to create a incident management process. So we started with a focus group inside the organization. So it basically was a team of volunteers who is interested in building something new, who is interested to create this process inside. And it's an organization of, I believe, 50 people. And in 50 people, you can find people who are really passionate about building new stuff or creating new process or just building something that was never before. So we've gathered people, we've created vision, how we want to see this process, what are our goals. We did some measurements, for example, how long it takes for resolution of incident, how long it takes for customer to reach out to us, what are the channels of communication. So we've created OKRs, something like, let's half time of resolution. Yeah, let's half time of resolution. Let's decrease the amount of tickets we've received, etc. And on this small scale, we started to actually implement the process. And this is really important because if you want to scale it, you need to go from this approach of personal connection to, let's say, a silver bullet, which is not a really silver bullet, but set of rules and frameworks that you can approach and you can use for all problems that you may encounter. So we've gathered best examples of across the industry. So I believe we've taken into account incident management process by Google, by Atlassian, by Netflix. They all have this information published on the internet. You can go and download the PDF, how they manage incidents. You can get some notes from there. You can get some inspiration. So we've started to create a book. And basically, we've ended up with set of rules. like a basic Confluence page, which has a diagram of resolution, which has a chain of responsibility, which has a idea how we manage people who are responsible for incidents, how we do our schedule, how we do this on-call process, and started to test it again with slightly bigger idea of
How
it
did you
actually
define the
works.
first test for the process?
What do you mean first test?
Like what you said, we started to test the process, right?
Oh, right.
Like, and the process is incident response. So, like, how did you decide to apply it? Where, like, how did you select the context of that process at that point when you started testing it? How did you go about defining those tests?
All right. So basically, we didn't have any process before. So each incident we encountered, we tried to use our new our new process. So it was really a live testing. Gladly, we were still at MVP stage. We still had a kind of a conversation with customers. So we had an opportunity to test what we create into real world scenarios. So we had a red button always if we release something and we can see that it went totally in a wrong direction. We just rolled back and tried to figure out what's going wrong. But if we can see that customers are not blocked, information is not disrupted, data is not damaged, then we were able to afford and actually test our process, how it goes and how it actually works. So we started with OKRs. We started to test small. We've created the process, and then we started to evaluate and actually scale. What helped us were OKRs that we defined at the very beginning. So we had basically sprints for this project, and every 2 weeks we are trying to understand how we going in terms of our OKRs. We've started with the process, so we just added more people to the process and see how they can deal with it, how they transfer knowledge, how many people are involved, and what is the actual stress for everyone. And some tricks helped as well. For example, we've introduced a community for our customers, basically a Slack channel. Every time they sign up for our product, they were able to add themselves to Slack channel, and whatever they don't like about our process, they can share with us. So the biggest challenge of all of this is probably how you attract people, because it's kind of a meme in software development industry when people are going out on Friday night and they have their laptop because they are on call, right? So it's something so it's a monster in head of everyone, that if you're on call, then your life does not exist, then you are always stressed, etc. So the biggest challenge is how to build this process easily. And the easiest example for us was that if from 40 engineers we have 1 engineer per week, then it's not that stressful, because for 1 week we can provide some sort of benefits, we can provide additional leave, we can provide additional expense, whatever. But if the more people we attract to this process, it's easier to for everyone. But you need to understand that not everyone is driven by money, or not everyone is driven by time off. It's important to think about how to motivate people to be a part of it, because some engineers, obviously they're here just to I really like to write code in specific language. I like to solve these problems, and I don't want to talk to customers. I don't want to resolve incidents, whatever. So this is a question of motivation.
So it's not only about motivating, but it's also a question about finding the people, right? Like,
yes,
in the population of engineers, who are those that actually are interested in participating in such a process and being let's say, the first point of contact and so on.
Yeah. And so obviously you can have a different view of any motivation techniques, but you just always need to remember that all people are different, and someone is motivated by money, someone is motivated just by stress and stress. Someone is motivated,
exactly.
adrenaline. Yeah. Someone is motivated by relief. Someone is motivated by family. So it's some can say that it is a manipulation, but from different perspective. It's not a manipulation. It's just you are creating a value and you're getting the result in your organization by proposing to people what they're really interested in. So it can't be a manipulation if person is interested in money, and you give them this money by doing on call, or people are motivated by not doing on call. Instead, they are doing something else they are interested in. So it's
writing better logs or something like that. Yeah, and
Exactly.
I that's a good point, that it's not about manipulating. It's about creating something that makes it worthwhile for people to invest some of their own time and energy into something that the company and the team needs them to invest, right? Like being on call is one example. Writing better logs or doing code reviews or whatever could be another example, or running performance testing could also be another example. People are motivated to do many different things, and if we are able to find what they feel they want to do, right, then we'll get a team of motivated people. But if we try to force them to do things that we need them to do but they don't want to do, then of course in the best case we get compliant but not motivated people, and in the worst case we get people to leave.
Yes, this is exactly correct. Totally agree with you.
Yeah, and that is really one of the key aspects of implementing such a process, to find the right position for the right people. Thank you for sharing that story, Viktor.
Thank you, Vasco, for having me.
Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow.
We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.